Before the charts crowned her and the internet crowned her queen of unpredictability, there was a quieter story, one of distance, creativity, and subtle influence. The kind of family dynamic that doesn't scream for attention, but silently builds someone unforgettable. That's the foundation of Doja Cat, and it's far more layered than it looks. Let's go deeper into the people who shaped her, directly and indirectly. Mother, the creative force behind the chaos. Doja Cat's mother, Deborah Elizabeth Sawyer, isn't just part of her story, she's the core architect of it. Background and identity. Deborah is a Jewish-American painter and visual artist. She has worked in fine art, focusing on expressive and conceptual pieces. Her lifestyle revolved around creativity, not convention. Role in Doja Cat's life. After separating from Doja Cat's father, Deborah raised her largely on her own in California. This meant a single-parent household driven by independence. A home filled with artistic tools, ideas, and freedom of expression. Less rigid structure, more creative exploration. Influence on Doja Cat. Deborah's impact shows up everywhere. Visual identity. Doja Cat's bold looks, costumes, and aesthetics mirror a painter's mindset. Fearlessness. Growing up around art taught her that weird isn't wrong, it's powerful. Creative control. She learned early to trust her own vision. In simple terms, her mother didn't just raise her, she programmed her to create without limits. Father, the absent presence with a powerful legacy. Her father, Dumisani Dlamini, adds a completely different layer to her identity. Who he is: a South African actor, dancer, and composer. Known for performing in the Broadway production and film Serafina. Deeply rooted in African performance arts and storytelling. The absence. Dumisani reportedly returned to South Africa before Doja Cat was born. He was largely absent during her childhood. Their relationship has been distant and, at times, publicly complicated. Doja Cat has even expressed that she didn't have a real relationship with him growing up. The indirect influence. Even without a strong presence, his impact exists in more subtle ways. Performance DNA, stage presence, rhythm, and musicality. Cultural identity, a connection to her South African roots. Emotional complexity, themes of independence and self-definition. A father who wasn't there, still part of who she became. Siblings, low profile, high impact. Doja Cat has an older brother, though she has intentionally kept his identity out of the spotlight. His role in her life. While not famous, his influence is undeniable. Introduced her to hip-hop, rap, and underground music. Played music around her during formative years. Helped shape her ear for beats, flow, and rhythm. Early creative spark. Before she was uploading songs or signing deals, she was listening, observing, absorbing sounds from her immediate environment. And a big part of that environment, her brother's musical taste. Sometimes the first producer in an artist's life is just a sibling pressing play. Family dynamic, unconventional but defining. Doja Cat's upbringing wasn't traditional, and that's exactly what gave her an edge. Key characteristics. Raised mainly by her mother. Minimal involvement from her father. Exposure to both spiritual community living and urban Los Angeles life. A home environment that prioritized creativity over structure. Spiritual phase. She spent part of her childhood in an ashram-like community, where daily life included spiritual practices and discipline. There was limited exposure to mainstream pop culture. Creativity existed, but within a structured environment. Later, transitioning back to city life created a powerful contrast. Structure versus freedom, isolation versus exposure, discipline versus expression. That duality is still visible in her personality and artistry. How her family shaped her personality. When you connect all the dots, the picture becomes clear. Independence. Growing up without a strong father figure made her self-reliant early. Creativity without limits. Her mother's artistic world removed fear of judgment. Cultural duality. American upbringing plus South African roots equals layered identity. Musical foundation. Her brother's influence planted the seeds of her sound. Emotional complexity. Distance. Change and contrast shaped her expressive depth. The silent architects of A-star. Doja Cat's family isn't constantly in headlines. They don't move with her in the spotlight. They don't define her publicly. But behind everything she does, every look, every lyric, every reinvention, there's a quiet blueprint. A mother who made creativity feel normal. A father who added legacy, even from afar. A sibling who sparked the sound before the world heard it. She may stand alone on stage, but she was never built alone.